up, true checkerheads? Welcome to Gear in Your Bedroom, the weekly Patreon exclusive podcast where I talk to members of the DIY community about how they do what they do, and I bring you along too. I am your host, Engineer Joey, or Host Joey, or just Joey. And I just flew in from Vancouver, and boy are my arms tired. I had to. The Checker Pass crew has been in Vancouver this last week. We went there to see the Australian punk band Amyl and the Sniffers. I believe they're doing a North American tour, but they hit Vancouver, and as Celine has mentioned on the podcast many times, she fucking loves them, so we got some tickets, and we went. This was our first kind of traveling, my first traveling since COVID. Celine has been to Calgary and Vancouver one time. But yeah, it was fine, actually. It wasn't too terrible traveling-wise, and the show was fantastic. I saw someone who I hadn't seen in many years from the Edmonton music scene. It was cool to kind of bro down. My trip was really short. Celine is, as of record, actually the whole crew is still in Vancouver. I am the only one back because I came back to do this and go to work and get our little dogs that needed tiny kisses on their tiny heads back from where they were staying. So that's what we've been up to this week. And yeah, it was a pretty good time. I'm tired as fuck, but it was a lot of fun. So coming up on this episode, I spoke to Justin, the singer and trombone player for PWRUP. We had a fun chat about writing while recording, getting awesome useless gifts from grandparents, and the bottomless pit of guitar pedal addiction. So I hope you enjoyed the convo. Here we fucking go! I'm proud to introduce Justin, the singer-trombonist of Western Mass working class punk, ska, and thrash band PWRUP. How are you doing today, Justin?
I am doing excellent. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, no problem. This is going to be a lot of fun. I have heard you're a gear guy, and you guys are DIY band, so this is exactly what we're talking about on this show. Yeah, so I guess the first thing I want to ask you about is this big AC/DC controversy.
Oh.
Oh boy, that sure makes it difficult for a small band, hey?
That I remember waking up that day and being like, oh, okay. And I went on Twitter and I was like, everyone that was talking about their album, I was like, yeah, this is going to be sick. Thanks for the support, man. And it was interesting. It once the album came out or was released, it pretty much erased all of our online presence for a good 2 or 3 months. But at the time, it didn't matter because we weren't playing shows anyway.
Yeah, I guess that's a plus. For those who don't know, AC/DC dropped an album called PWRUP, and that was it. This small Massachusetts band got obliterated from the internet for a few months. It was kind of brutal.
I forgot about that. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, no problem. I thought about it and I was like, fuck, that must have just really sucked because we, as Checker Pass, has had a little bit of we just thought it was a great name and kind of went rolling with it and got a logo going and all that kind of stuff, and then later realized that there's another Checker Pass podcast that does old DC comics and also just Checkered Past. If you Google it, you just get so many hits of everything. Is not great for finding on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
But good idea is a good idea. Just roll with it. Fucking whatever. So your last release, An Equal Ugly Family, you guys recorded that all DIY you were mentioning. I gotta say, I've been listening to it over the last couple of days to kind of prepare for this, and the thing fucking rips. It's right up my alley as far as music is concerned. Specifically King Kong. What a great song. Tell me a little bit about kind of how you guys recorded that, and did you have experience doing DIY recording beforehand?
We'd all had some sort of experience recording ourselves in a context that was like, yeah, I want to get this idea down. I want to demo out this song, show it to other people, get a band together, and but like to do it as like this is gonna be our main demo. We hadn't really done that before. Jeff did a lot of studying up on GarageBand, which is what we used to mix it, which was fun.
Rad.
And he just read a whole lot and we pieced it together. We actually wrote the songs while recording them for the most part, and then learned them after the fact. So we had it was just easier for all of our schedules to get together like that.
That's really interesting. I've personally traditionally written more collaboratively. Like in my old band, we would usually one of us would kind of like have, the general structure of a song. We bring it to jam, show the other guys. We kind of riff on it and go from there. So I'm sort of learning how to do this whole like writing while recording type of thing right now too. And I think it's really interesting that you guys kind of had, your own like throwing down ideas at home sort of figured out. I mean, anyone can download GarageBand or whatever and just plug in their guitar just to, like a voice memo type of deal. Like that's kind of the basics of everybody's DIY recording these days, I feel like. But it's cool to take that idea and like expand it out to the whole band and end up with a product that sounds pretty good,
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, were you guys how long has the band been around?
We got together. I'm really bad at time stuff. We've been talking about it since forever. It was always like, yeah, we should get back together. We should make the ska punk band we've always wanted to be in. Just focus on getting the music down and making something we were like really proud of. And Aaron didn't live in the area for a while, and we all had lives, jobs, careers, families.
Mm-hmm.
And one day we were like, we should really do this. We should just, get together. So they got together and played, and me being the trombone player, hearing all of these songs for the first time, I didn't have anything to do. So I would just stand there and be like, yeah, this is a sick punk band. Like, all right. Like I could get into this. But the song, we kept getting together. The songs, I got the songs under my fingers, and I was able to write lyrics and parts. And then so it went from, I've got this part, I've got that part, let's jam these parts together, or hey, I have this song, but I want you guys to write more parts for it, to recording, to get like, let's get some, let's format these, like this part is this part is that part, and then the end. Mm-hmm. And that was the recording process. And then we kind of we polished them after that. And it's like, if you listen to the demo, there's some songs that you can tell were recorded much later than than some other songs, just because we got better at the process. Like Pieces Over Time specifically was one of the last songs we recorded, and I think it sounds a little bit different than everything else on the album.
Yeah, I think that one, the vocals sound like maybe you just had the mix a little bit more like spread out or something. Like I noticed like there's a bunch of harmonies which are really cool on the album. They're really they kind of remind me of like old school NoFX in a way, like how they're like now, like those two guys know each other's harmonies and they're like perfect, but like back in the day there was like a little bit of wobble, and I like that. It makes it more punk rock for me. I really enjoyed it. That's really cool that that you, structure wise, these were a little more planned out, and I think you can hear that. And I'm guessing kind of going forward with your newer stuff, that's sort of the direction you guys took writing as well.
Yeah. So far we've only written one song as a band together in a room.
Wow.
And we haven't released it. It was a 30-second, like, let's write a 30-second song. And then we did it. And then that's the only song we've ever written in a room together. Everything else has been like, let's get two people together, and I have this mostly idea, let's flesh it out. and then bring it to everybody. Or here, like Jeff has a folder full of like Pennywise style punk, or like Comeback Kid style hardcore, and it's like, oh yeah, all of this stuff is really good, and so we just have this like wealth of individual ideas to draw from, and
that's cool.
That's been really fun. That's been really fun.
Just reach in that bag and pull out some riffs and throw them together. That's rad. Okay, you guys write like kind of piecemeal, it sounds like. You specifically, when it comes to writing lyrics and stuff, where do you kind of start with? Like, I don't want to get like too into the super personal details. I realize that some people are weird about it, but like, how do you? I know some people kind of have like a notebook and they have bits and pieces of stuff that they write and they start kind of pulling from that. Some people will have an idea and they'll write it like a story. Like, how do you do your lyrics?
I have to have the song. They have to have the song done complete already. Like, I need the exact structure of what I'm gonna do, and then I listen to it over and over and over and over again until I find one piece of the song that I hear, like, I want to be saying this there. Like, I want to say it, and I want to say it there. And then the rest of the song will either going back. I'll go backwards from that point if it's like in the middle of the song, or I'll go forward. You know what I mean? Like,
you'll build out from that one spot. Yeah. That's rad. I kind of do the same. Like, I kind of am a little bit of a story writer. Like, I'll have an idea and then I kind of try and think about the song from like beginning to end and try and have an arc. But like sometimes I've been there where it's like, oh, this bridge needs this thing in it and this is what I want to be doing here, so everything else just sort of got to work around that, you know. and I would imagine I've done the same with guitar work too, where it's just like usually when I'm writing a song guitar, that's where it starts. I'll have one cool riff and then it'll either work forwards or backwards from there. So I get that, and it's hey man, it works, and it works for you.
Exactly.
Trombone. When did you start playing trombone, and how did you incorporate it into the band? Like, it sounds really good. Like, it almost sounds like a different way of adding vocals to me, the way you guys use it a lot of the time. And yeah, it's a really interesting use of the instrument. How'd you do that?
I started in 5th grade, and I stayed in band until I graduated. Until I was in band until I dropped out of college, actually.
Awesome.
Which was great. I started being in ska bands in high school. Well, I started in a ska band in high school, then went to another one in college, and that's how I grew up with Aaron. Actually, I grew up with everybody in the band except for Brian.
Cool.
So that's another reason why we have all how I was saying, the band got together after years of talking about being in the band, and we were able to do that because we all had that that bond from before. I got off topic. What was the question?
Trombone. Using
trombone.
The trombone.
Okay. Sorry. I have a big ego, or I had a really, really big ego, and it was easy for me to stand out in this punk band and just be like, I'm gonna play this. I don't necessarily need to be on the stage to play it, because I can just play it. I can go into the crowd and I can play into your face. I can go into the bar area and I can play to these people who have no interest in what I'm doing. And then I can go back and join the band for ba 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 ba. You know what I mean? Like,
totally.
And how you were saying, like, I use it vocally. It's a lot of that reason is because I sing and I do the trombone. So I can't, some of the parts that I would want to sing, like, I don't have I can't find the words for. I hear what I want to sing, and I never figure out exactly what I want to say, and then I can do it on trombone. I can do that part on
Yeah, you
trombone.
can do the melody all you want. You don't need the words with the trombone. Yeah. That's cool. There's a couple of spots in the album where I think you guys are you have the trombone kind of like double tracked, and there's vocals going on, and man, it's really cool. I really enjoy it. And it's also an interesting use of like you said, like you're more of a trombonist in a punk rock band rather than like a ska trombonist, it seems, and it's really an interesting take on the whole genre, to be honest. I like it a lot. This just popped into my head, being a Massachusetts band and being aggressive and having harmonized guitar riffs. Wilhelm Scream fans?
Jeff is a huge Wilhelm Scream fan. I have listened to them, but it just didn't get under my skin like other stuff has. Jeff loves them though.
The only reason that
Brian loves them too.
Yeah, the only reason I even remembered that they're from Massachusetts is like every time I've seen them, the guy points out that they're a bunch of massholes, and it makes me laugh like every fucking time. And it's one of those things where like they say the same joke every tour, and I'm like, I'm not even mad. It's a good joke. Can I continue on here? Do you play any other instruments or just sing and trombone?
I play bass guitar. I tried to play keyboard, but I'm like, if there's what's before beginner, like,
I'm that whatever that is. I'm there with you, bud.
But it's fun to make noise on the keyboard. It's I play bass.
Rad. Do you play in a band as well, or is that more?
I have, but I do not currently. I can't devote enough time to another band.
Basically. Oh yeah, it's wild. When people are in like 6 bands, it blows my mind. I wish I could do it, but that's too much time for me.
Like going to work and then going to practice is like like I don't want to do that more than once a week, you know? Like,
yeah, I wish I could just take the work part and throw it in the garbage and just go to practice, to be honest.
That would be great. That's the dream.
That is the dream, right? Do you ever write parts for the band, like on bass, or is it pretty much like you're just solidly vocals and trombone?
I flesh out song ideas on bass. I very rarely will be like, I want this part. It's more like, I have this idea, Gary, take it and do it with it what you will. Because the parts that he comes up with are like, oh yeah, let's do this prog jazz part, like, and it's like, hey Jeff, do you got that? And Jeff's like, no, I don't have that. And Aaron's like, wait, play it one more time. Yeah, I got it. Jeff, you got this yet? And Jeff's like, no, I don't got it. Like, so with all of that going on, it's more, I like to bring ideas more than structured, like rock solid. I love this. Don't fuck with it, please.
Yeah, totally.
If I bring something, it's probably going to get taken apart, put back together again, and it's not going to be exactly the same. And I'm sure everybody that writes music has been like, you want to do what? Okay, I guess we can put that. We can change that there, I guess. You know what I mean?
I've personally never honestly worked with anybody who's like really like hard line on their songwriting. I've always like thankfully worked in really collaborative efforts as far as writing is concerned, because I could see that being great as like a, hey, I'm going to show up and play some guitar for a bit for this band, and this person just tells me what to do. Like, that'd be fun. But like, I don't know if someone came into jam was like, this is how it's going down, I'd be like, but what if I change something though? You know?
Those two lines that you just said, that's a lot of our songwriting process. It's like, even recording though, we'll find out what the other people have been playing, and they're like, you've been playing that the whole time? What about if you played it this way? And they're like, yeah, I don't know, I really like it this way. and it's like we have a part in a song where Aaron went in and did an overdub of one chord, and he's like, yeah, much better. And me and Brian are sitting there being like, well, it's not, but we could do it that way, I guess, if you insist, but it's not better. And so I honestly, I don't know how it's going to end up. I don't know where that's going to lie.
Yeah, well, it's roll the dice, you know?
Exactly. Coin flip.
It's very funny. Your trombone. Do you have the same trombone from grade 5? Have you upgraded? Do you have a fancy trombone these days? What's the story of your instrument that you play on stage?
I had my beginner trombone for a long time. That was the one I played. Actually, yeah. So I played that until high school. I started playing bass trombone in high school, and I got a bass trombone as a present from my grandmother for graduating high school. Like other people get cars, and I got a really nice, expensive trombone that I did not need in a hardcore punk band.
Hey, but it was a bass trombone, so it was heavy.
Yeah. It's another thing is that like I have. It's hard for me to want to practice trombone. That's why I like bass so much, is because I can pick it up and I can play it. Trombone for me is like been hard for me to really like dig in, which is where I really like practicing with the band so much, because it's more like I get to perform with them. You know what I mean? I get to play my parts. Yeah. I basically I'll practice like for 3 weeks before a show or before we have a set of shows, but most of the time it's like hard for me to dig into it.
I can imagine it would be kind of like, I personally have trouble singing, like when Selena's in the house or whatever. So like whenever I'm recording vocal tracks or whatever, I'll wait till she's out of the house. Even though like we can go to karaoke and I'll sing for hours in front of a whole bunch of people.
I completely understand.
So like I can imagine like practicing trombone at home, you're like, this is so loud, and who even wants to hear this? You know what I mean? Like, it'd be the same as singing to yourself. It's a very weird sort of thing, I think. And I don't know if it's like a confidence thing or what, but it's much different when it's really loud. When you're loud and you can just yell into a mic or play trombone with the band, it's a totally different experience, you know?
For me, it's more of a frustration thing. Like, I think of this part that I have in my head and I want to play it, and on bass I can just pick it up and I can play it poorly, but I can still like get there. Yeah. And on trombone it's like, I can't hit that register, and I keep hitting the register below it, and it's like fuck, and I just get so like angry with my like that I can't do it, that it just makes me not want to do it. So like that's why when I practice I have to play it and then give myself a little time to be like, all right, I can do this. Like I give myself that little pep talk, you know, like, yeah, yep. I can do this. I know I can do this, and just not get like down on myself for not having it immediately. Which
totally,
you know, if I practice more, I wouldn't have that as much. But you know, gotta.
But life, right?
Yeah, like, exactly. Life and discipline.
Totally, man. And I feel like that's something probably everyone who's possibly listening to this and does any kind of music or any kind of creative output, really, it's like it's always fun, and it's better to just do it. Sometimes you just got to psych yourself up. I had to psych myself up to do this. You know what I mean?
Big same.
So, but it like ultimately, like, I just think it's so cool that we're at a point now where, if you have a creative aspiration, musically, or you want to do a fucking podcast or whatever, like the tools are right there. You know what I mean? Like we're at a point where if you just motivate yourself to do it, you can get it done, and it doesn't have to sound like a shitty Ween record anymore. you know, like.
Hey, Ween has a couple good albums, okay?
Oh yeah, but also 4-track to tape is rough. It's fun. Actually, my first band in high school, we did, like pop punk cover, Blink 182 and stuff, and a Nickelback song.
Ooh,
yeah,
which Nickelback song?
Leader of Men, baby. It was one of our 2 drop D songs.
You always have to have 2, because if you have 1, it's not worth dropping to D.
Yeah, and you don't want to be that band that does the whole like thing just for one song, right? Because like you're not gonna have a tuning pedal when you're 16. Why would you have a tuner pedal? Where was I even going with that? I totally lost my.
I don't know, but speaking of Nickelback, the Rockstar song, I just want to say, go on the record, I love that song. Nickelback, Rockstar. I want to be big rockstar. I love that song. Whenever it comes on the radio, I'm like, yeah.
Is it the Cheese Factor?
I will say one of my favorite albums is oh shit, I can't remember it now. The Final Countdown by PWRUP. That whole album, gold. Every single song, gold.
You know what? I've never listened to anything other than the song "The Final Countdown." Maybe I'll put her on the old Spotify one.
You are missing Ninja. Ninja's a great song. Carrie is like a hard rock ballad, so good. Every song on that album is like, how did they write this? How did anybody let them write this? And then the guitar solo is just like, that's why.
Oh yeah. There's music from that era where, like, I get that rock and roll was big, but like rock has crashed so hard that to imagine these like people like PWRUP or like the Eagles being these huge rock sensations that record companies were throwing millions and millions of dollars at, like, kind of blows my mind these days.
Well, it's super interesting because of the internet, nobody will ever be that big again.
Yeah, we've talked about that on the pod, where it's just that like a so-called fourth wave of ska is like, because of the way A&R worked in the 90s, that's what made the third wave, right? Like, it was the way record companies were pushing all of like the newest sound, and that just doesn't exist anymore, right? Like, it does to a point, but like it's not the same.
People have the brands that people support now are brands that like they care about. Like, I realize that this is a brand, but also like I love everything that they put out, so I'm going to fanboy this brand. I love there's a record company in Lowell, it's Constant Disappointment. Mm-hmm. I love everything they do. Every t-shirt they come out with, I'm like, yo, I'll get one in my size and I'll throw you extra. Like I love this t-shirt. I love what you guys are doing. And I feel like there's just a lot of people doing that for people that they choose are like, I don't know how to say it. It's like everybody that's getting like Twitter super popular, like the smaller bands are able to have a bigger presence because everyone's like, we love you. Yeah, totally. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like one of my issues with being in a smaller punk band in Edmonton, like where we are, is we're just so isolated, right? So you can't really like as people with jobs, and like I never had the opportunity to go on like a long tour. I just didn't make enough money to take the time off and then also lose money on tour. So we did a few like weekend tour type of deals, but everything's really far. So you try and build as big of a following as you can in your city, but like if your city doesn't have a big enough community to support each other, to have people who are all supporting one another. It's hard for that tide to rise and lift all the boats, right? Whereas with the internet now and DIY being as big as it is, it's like you're saying, like it's easier for a band to be like, yo, we're talented and we're funny and like people dig us, and like around town, like we can play shows and it's great, but you know, we go elsewhere and there's nothing. It's like with the internet now, and like you said, with Twitter and being able to get your stuff out there, it's a lot easier to get support from people who aren't directly local to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like it's like we talk about it all the time on the pod, where it's, you know, we're like kind of the bastion of ska in Canada as far as ska Twitter goes. But like, man, like Bad Time Records, they don't miss. You know what I mean? Like that's a company
exactly. That's what I was trying to get. Like everything they do is so good. Like,
yeah. So it's like supporting. It's supporting the brand, but it's supporting a brand that is a pillar of the community in a way. You know, like it's nowadays it's not like when you say you're supporting the brand, it's not like you're like, oh, I fucking love Adidas, I'm gonna wear my Adidas, like complete Adidas tracksuit and shell toes every day, even though that's awesome. You know,
there are people, you know, there are people that are like that.
Oh yeah, but in the DIY music scene, for the most part, it's like you know, like it's cool that you're able to kind of support like smaller creators and really build up the community, because I feel like, and especially for bands in smaller towns and stuff that don't really have the ability to tour, I can imagine building a community is like near impossible, right? Like,
yeah, I couldn't imagine what that would take. I feel really, really spoiled to be where I am on the East Coast, because we could go out for a week and never be more than like 3 hours from home in any direction.
Yeah,
and still
that's
play
wild.
like a different area demographic.
Mm-hmm. Like I've talked to people. A friend of ours in Edmonton here, he plays in a couple of bands. He plays in like a crusty kind of hardcore band called Languid, and they do huge in Europe. So they go over to Europe, and he's like, they've toured Europe so many times, and he's like, it's a completely different, like, touring Canada is a nightmare. He loves it here, but it's like you drive 5 to 8 hours between cities, and then like you can't, no one's driving from Saskatoon to Winnipeg to follow your band to see you 2 nights in a row. You know what I mean? Like, whereas in Europe, where like you can play 2 weeks worth of shows and people can still show up from week 1 at the end of week 2 if they ride the train for a couple of hours. You know what I mean? Like it's way easier to find fans who are super into your shit because they're able to go to multiple shows in a row, you know? Like it's a really, really different experience touring wise. And I think that's very interesting.
That is super interesting. I have no experience in Europe.
Yeah, it sounds similar to generally your guys' area, but more European, and I'd imagine warmer beer, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, that's another fun story about them is here in Canada, everybody sells koozies for their bands because they sell like gangbusters, and everybody likes cold beer. So they brought them over there, and everybody just drinks room temperature Modelo over there. So nobody bought any koozies. They didn't sell a goddamn one.
That's super interesting. What's this for?
Yeah, that's literally like they were at like squats trying to give them away and nobody wanted them.
Should be like, it keeps your drink warm.
Yeah, or cold. Maybe it's too warm in here and you want your drink more room temperature. I think my final question here is you're a self-proclaimed gear aficionado. How has that affected the band? Have you convinced the band to get some sweet shit on stage or what?
So yes.
Good.
Gary was like, what bass head should I buy? And I was like, buy a Mark bass. Buy a Mark bass head. They're fun. I had one. They're clean. It's good. Just get that. And so he went to Guitar Center, bought a little Mark III and Mark Bass 210, and I was like, what? Like, because that I thought he was just like, oh yeah, what do you guys think? And then he just showed up with it one day, and he's like, oh, okay, yeah, that works. That's just all of the gear that I wish I had in my basement. But during the pandemic, I bought and sold a lot of pedals because I wanted to try a lot of pedals, like playing bass in my basement. So I'd buy it, I'd try it, and I'd be like, this is cool. I want to try a different one, and sell it, and then buy another one. And along the way, I stopped selling them and kept acquiring them. So now I have an entire shelf of guitar pedals, and I have multiple. Like I try and bring them to practice, and I'm like, you guys should try this. Try this fuzz, try this distortion. He's like, nah, I got my head because I like the Marshall distortion. I like this. I do that, and that's all the distortion I need. Or it's like, I have the two pedals that I use. I don't need any. I don't need that. And I'm just like, come on, just please try it. I have it. I don't use it. It's sitting in my basement. Please try this. And they're like, maybe I'll get to it. Like,
yeah, the pedal game can be a deep hole, man. I've managed to avoid it myself because I did the same thing your guitarist has done. And I, at one point, I was like, so I got to get the pedals. And then I started working at a music store. Long McQuaid is our kind of big chain store here. I started working there, and when they give you a discounted rate on financing, buying everything seems like a really good idea. So at that point, I also made the decision where I was like, well, I could collect pedals, or I could just get an amp that sounds the way I want it to. And then I realized that the amp that sounded the way I wanted to was like $4,000, and I made some concessions. I did not get a hand-wired Rocker Verb 50. I got a different orange that was a lot cheaper, but you know, it's the pedal game be crazy. I have a friend who has a giant wall of pedals, and he does the same thing you do. When I go over and visit him, he'll grab a grocery bag and he'll literally just start throwing pedals into it and be like, "See you in a few months."
Please, sir, take my pedals. Make use of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think we've each got probably 3 or 4 of each other's pedals that we've just had for like a year, just because he's got, I don't even remember what I lent to him, but he's probably got 4 or 5 versions of it. So I don't know whether he's using mine or not, but it doesn't matter. Cool. Well, we've hit about 40 minutes here, which is awesome. So I think to wrap it up, I'm just going to get you to give me some plugs. What can we do? What can listeners do to listen to your band? Where can they give you the most money? What are the socials, all that stuff?
Well, we just got PWRUP.band, which is fun. That's
cool.
That's a fun little website URL that you could put into your devices, you know?
Get the fuck out of here.com.
Yeah, exactly. We're a band, not a commercial entity. We lose.
Hell yeah.
And then we're just trying to finish this album. We aren't playing. We're playing a couple shows, but all of that's in our link tree. And just listen to our Bandcamp's always the best place to like support someone if you can't support them directly. I feel like
specifically Bandcamp Friday if you can.
Specifically Bandcamp Friday. But we will get the album as soon as we can, and then you can listen to that.
Fuck yeah, I will be looking forward to it. Awesome. Well, thanks for being on the show, and hope you have a great day. And thank
you for having me.
No problem. Thanks for listening to Gear in Your Bedroom. Hit up CheckerPast on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok at CheckerPastPod, or send us an email at checkerpastpod@gmail.com, or tweet directly to me at Joey Oblivion on the Bird app or in the Checkerhead Discord. Thank you so much for being patrons and becoming true Checkerheads and supporting our little podcast and helping us to support the community that we all love so much. Y'all are the best, and hopefully you are enjoying this podcast. If you ever feel like you need to pick up a new toque or a shirt, merch is always available at checkerpass.ca. And the theme song for the show is a 16-bit cover of Goldfinger's Here in Your Bedroom from the Meme Music channel on YouTube. Check them out for all kinds of chiptune covers and other cool tunage. Thanks for listening, and check me out next week. Bye!